Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdown. Today, we are going to discuss the NL and where they are at the halfway point in the season. My name is Tyler, joined as always by John Will and producer Bobby. If you haven't seen it, we made one on the AL a few days ago where we went over all the teams and the divisions and kind of assessed everything happening in the American League to this point in time. We're going to do the same thing for the NL as well as we prepare ourselves for the All-Star break, the trade deadline, and everything that comes in the second half of the season. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll start in the NL West and look at the best team in baseball right now. Surprise, surprise. The Los Angeles Dodgers, I should say, tied for the best team in baseball, with the
Yeah, watching them
Tigers.
now.
um, Padres, San Fran in that mix as well. I would love to see them push for the division. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Arizona has really kind of not met the expectations this year. And boy, oh boy, the Colorado Rockies, we've already spoken about them so much. But when you see negative, actually, I think it's one up because they played today. It's now at minus 213, the run differential
How
on the
much did it go
season.
up today? Let's
It
see.
only went up two. It's 213 today because they lost by two to the Dodgers and got
Two,
swept.
yeah, 213. Yeah.
So that's a tough look for them. But let's look at this division as a whole. Of course, starting with the Dodgers. I guess the one thing we have talked about the Dodgers this year is they have been incredibly injured in their pitching, but they've been able to obviously overcome that and do exactly what everybody expected. Um, does anybody have anything but that they're gonna, win the NL West and probably be the best team in baseball by the end of the
Mhm.
season?
They got a new
No, I'm
pitcher.
not convinced they'll be the best in baseball at the end of the season, but I do think that odds are they'll still probably win the division, even if the Padres and Giants give them somewhat a run for their money, like the Padres did last year at the end of July. I think.
Yeah. I would
Uh,
like to see a team compete, but
Watch it be the
outside of
Giants.
outside of Yamamoto, honestly, their starting rotation hasn't been very good. But I
It's been
guess,
so banged up.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
I understand that,
But I got
but
a new piece.
still. Well, let's put it this way: money can buy you happiness. Don't let anyone tell you different.
No, I mean their strategy
About
is
this.
clearly we're buying talent regardless of injury history, and we're just going to gamble that enough of them will be healthy at the right time when it matters, and we got enough to get us through the regular season. They're definitely testing that depth option. Question is
It's really a gamble if you're buying that many players.
when you have like 9 or 10 potential guys that could be in your starting rotation, but also like 6 of them get hurt at the same time. It feels like,
Here's my
Yeah,
I
whole
mean,
thing.
maybe
yeah,
it becomes a gamble, but like on paper, I mean, it wasn't
well,
a gamble. They're just like, all right, we're set. Can't
because but
possibly
it is.
fuck
I
this
mean,
up.
but everyone's injury history that feels like they sign immediately is that they're gonna get hurt at some point this season, and most likely for like a month.
It's just funny
So
because I remember us
it
talking about
just
it like
happens.
I remember us talking about like Dustin May is like, hey, he's somebody who could be, traded because they have all these pieces. He's got the second most innings pitched on their team. So,
As they need it.
Yeah, and one of their actually no, he does not have one of their higher ERAs.
I mean, he hasn't been great, but it's just the fact that he's kind of had to be
Mhm.
thrusted into that role because of the injuries. Of course, they're getting, they've gotten Otani back. He's starting to slowly work his way back, in the pitching sense. But yeah, I mean, this has been the MO of this team so far this year is just how bad the injuries have been to pitching. But again, through all that, they're tied for the best record in baseball. They are an absolute machine.
Sasaki is human.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, he's gonna be out for a while now. He was like
yeah.
indefinitely shut down. No, I mean the Dodgers, they're gonna make the playoffs. They're always gonna be a threat. That this is a year where I do not have confidence that they're even gonna make it to the championship series. I
Wow.
mean,
Ooh,
they
ooh.
basically they need to have a couple guys come back and get to ace caliber situation. But right now, if they're like their 20th in starting rotation, 21st in bullpen ERA, they need some things to like. They need a piece or two for the bullpen to bolster that, regardless of the starting pitchers that will come back. But they're absolutely in a situation where based on what they've done in the past prior to last season, that sure, they enter the postseason, they face a good team, and suddenly that hot team scores 6-7 runs off of them in the first 3 innings, and the offense just kind of dies behind that, because momentum is a huge thing in the postseason. And if the Dodgers have shown, if they get pounced on early, they will kind of shut down. And there have been good teams this season that have been able to hold the Dodgers offense in check. They are
Padres being one of them.
amazing. They're amazing, but yeah, they're manageable enough.
It just feels like, though, like even if if their pitching is banged up, their offense holds them. If their offense is getting slowed down, their pitching will find a way. Like that, I guess that's my only thing with them is they have so much star power that even if one facet of their game gets shut down, it's hard for me to see another like at this point in time with the current roster they've had the last 2 years to
For a full
completely get
season,
shut
sure,
out.
but in a
Yeah.
postseason,
This is a video game team, okay? They should be
this
able
is
to
a
bounce
video
back.
game team with the injury risk turned on high.
I
Yes.
mean, but the
Turned
thing
on
is, though,
realistic.
let's be honest here. Look at who they have in the wings that if and when they come back, are playoff caliber starters. You have Glass now. You have Blake Snell. You have let's see here. Lou Trevino, Michael Kopech. Like you have
Well,
you
Kopech's
have
out, I think, for like the season or something.
I'm
Like,
just
going.
I'm just saying. You
Well,
have
you
have
can't
these
say it.
guys. Fine. Scratch Michael Kopech. Jesus Christ. All right. But looking at their rotation, you have Kershaw, Sasaki, who we just established was hurt. I understand, but still. You have Gonsolin, you have Knack, you have May, you have Yamamoto. Like it's just an embarrassment of riches in LA. Like they truly have bought a video game team, and when they don't win the World Series this year because of everything that Will said that I 100% agree with, it's going to be like so satisfying.
God, dude, it is kind of crazy though to look
So
at.
you
They're gonna
realize that
need
all of them
to
are still
report.
signed long term, so they'll be right back at it.
They're gonna need
Yeah.
2 of the guys that are injured to basically be top half of the rotation caliber. Absolutely, that can happen, but I mean, right now you have Yamamoto and everyone. I mean, Kershaw's done okay, but everyone agrees you can't trust Kershaw in the postseason. You never could. So, and all the other ERAs are not great, so it's really unreliable for the postseason. So you better hope that you get a couple guys that can step up in a 5-game series, and then if you get to a 7, pray to God.
Hey, Bobby, you'll like this question. Who has a worse playoff percentage, Kershaw or Peyton Manning?
Oh, don't throw me into this. Don't throw me into this.
Wow.
Like that's messed up. It's probably
That Denver team is one of the best I've ever seen.
I wasn't talking about Peyton Manning in Denver. I was talking about him in Indy.
well, he
I don't
also
care about him in Indy.
besides the one run, there was questionable times in Denver as well in the playoffs. Regardless, we're a baseball podcast.
We talked about football once.
We did.
Maybe twice.
Let's move on to the other teams in the division: Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks. I feel like I always kind of clump these 3 teams together when you're talking about this because it's the Dodgers who are better than everybody else, and the Rockies who are worse than everybody else. And
I can make it really quick with the Diamondbacks.
Go ahead,
It's
go
everything
for it.
We've always said they are again one of the best offenses in baseball, and Josh Naylor has been a great addition. Now they've lost Corbin Carroll for who knows how long with the chip fracture.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
But
That
beside
hurts.
that, their pitching sucks. And their starting rotation, which looked really good, has underperformed. And now you have Burns out. And you don't have a closer. So your team is screwed in the pitching department. And that's why they're barely above 500. They are proving that there is a limit to outslugging your mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we can cover that any better. Let's move on to the Giants there, Ty.
That's
Yeah.
fine. We've already talked Giants too, so this should be another.
I mean, yeah, Giants. It's been the pitching that continues to be great. Their team ERA is like crazy right now. So,
3.34.
They smell blood in the water. They're looking down that last wild card spot, and they are going for it. Buster Posey
Third
is
in
willing. Buster Posey's willing to spend the money as is proven by the. I wonder what they could do regarding trades to really help that.
well, They brought
But
They brought Devers in, and you know what they did to cap that off? They got swept by the Marlins this week. So anything can
I was
happen.
going to say, wait, John, you were the one talking about the curse of the BLB podcast, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just
All right,
So-
it's so
where's the
accurate though.
mystical
What did we
Raphael-
do? We talked up the
Raphael-
Giants and
Raphael
Devers.
Devers as a Giant. I know it's a small sample size, but since I want to, bring to light the curse of the podcast, 8 games with the Giants, he's batting 194. We
Solid.
It's
That-
just because he decided to take some reps at first during practice. That's what's. It's
Probably hurt
finally
his pinky
screwing
finger.
with him.
He probably jammed his finger, his wheel finger.
Oh no!
I mean, Matt Chapman's still out for them. He's expected to be back maybe in a week or two.
I fully believe that Devers will eventually be the second coming of Barry Bonds for them.
Well,
in terms
considering
of
what
productivity for this team.
considering how he started,
He needs a
this
couple
season,
extra injections for that.
he'll
First
be
of all,
fine.
second of all,
I will say he had a home run today when they were down 5-0, but the way he watched that, it did look like Bonds. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Yeah, I really, we've actually kind of touched on this division so much in recent weeks that it's kind of hard to say anything. I mean, I guess the Padres, they've kind of been really up and down this year. Because
yeah.
there was a point where I was like, "Ooh, they're really struggling." I will say their rivalry with the Dodgers is well and truly alive, which I love to see. But hey, man, 44-36 for them. They're in the thick of it. They're in the wild card race, of course. And
you know what sucks? If they didn't have a video game team in front of them, they would be a division winner.
yeah, I mean,
doesn't that just suck?
I thought this. I mean, it's funny now because the Diamondbacks have really taken a step back, but I really thought that about the Diamondbacks. You know, like last year, I was really liking the Diamondbacks, but it's just so hard for anybody to overtake the Dodgers. But I mean, Will, anything on the Padres that really sticks out?
No, I kind of like their pitching, but I mean, like you said, they're up and down right now, and I had them projected as kind of an 87 win team, and they're a little above that right now. So, they do have some competition though for the wild card, not just with the Giants and whoever doesn't win the East between the Phillies and Mets, but also it looks like the Brewers now and the Reds and Cardinals are both hovering a few games back. So the Padres do need to kind of get their acting gear a little bit if they want to win the division. I mean, remember, we're not that far off of this season where they vastly underperformed until the last month of the season and then went on a tear, but we're just out of it. Like, they could find themselves on the opposite end of it if they're like, we're going to hover around these 88 win totals and then be like the Diamondbacks last year and just miss the postseason by a game.
Yeah. John, is there anything you have on these other NL West teams? Like I said, we've kind of touched on this division. I think there's other pressing issues in the NL to get to.
Yeah, I don't really have any more to add. I mean, the NL West is pretty stacked with 3 really good teams, and the Diamondbacks will put it best. You know, their pitching is going to be their downfall this season. And the Rockies are, well, they are comedy on a baseball diamond. So let's move on to the NL Central.
I think the Giants are going to get 90 plus wins and be second place handily by the end of the season. I think they will. Here, to even make it more, I think the Giants will finish within 5 games of the Dodgers by the end of the season.
I think I can see them getting 90 plus wins. I mean their pitching is going to have to continue to do what it's done. But I can see that. I just don't know if they're getting within 5 of the Dodgers.
I can see a Giants Tigers World Series, which would be really weird if that happened. But it's possible.
It is possible.
Here's the thing about the this
Verlander
what they say
backing
when
up
it's
the Tigers.
possible. It's popsicle.
Thank you.
It's popsicle. Very, very quick final thing for the Giants. They are probably the scariest team with the Devers trade now going into the postseason because of what it could make their offense. And we know their pitching is great. Good pitching still seems to hold out in the postseason. It's having the offense that goes the extra step. And with this team now probably absolutely middle of the pack and maybe now starting to creep a little closer to the top third in baseball in team batting, that they could very well get to the postseason 3 guys on this team just take them very deep.
Yeah, it is possible. And I don't know, man. San Francisco, when they're in it in September and October, is a great atmosphere. So I would love to see it in that sense.
Rematch of 2012.
Mm, yeah,
What Will's predicting.
yes, and Verlander against his old team. That would be something too.
That would be something.
But yeah, let's get on to the NL Central. I think this division, outside of the Pirates, is actually probably the most interesting in baseball this year.
Hold on, Ty, I have a question for you
Yes.
about your Pirates before you skate over them.
No, we're going to the Pirates. Go.
What the hell is wrong with you guys?
I mean,
you bench O'Neal Cruz for
that was valid.
not
No,
hustling.
that was valid.
That
no,
was
that was
valid.
valid.
Hold on,
Did you
hold on,
watch
hold on.
that clip?
Yes, I watched.
Did you watch that clip? Then what are you arguing?
It didn't look any different to me than any other major leaguer that hits a frustrating ground ball.
Dude,
Nah, you are off
look,
target.
Here's why I'm questioning it. He's leading your team in stolen bases.
You're 32 and 50. You're 32 and 50. You're 32 and 50.
Arson judge.
Also, not to mention, and I think I said this at the beginning of the year. I think O'Neal Cruz has the tools to be a superstar in this league, but I had to question.
5 tools guy.
I would say he's a 5-tool player, but his laziness and his actual want to win, I question sometimes, and that's happened a lot this year. And then it was good for a while, and then that happened. I was like, oh, here we go.
All right, quick question for you, Tyler. Then, do you think that's because of the team he's on, or do you think that's just how he carries himself in general? Do you think if he got traded to a contender, his mentality would change, or? No?
I don't know, man. Cause it's funny because he does seem to enjoy himself in Pittsburgh. Like he's always laughing. He seems like a goofy guy, but then when he's on the field, sometimes he just turns it down. So I don't know. But I would say probably it would be the same elsewhere. But I do like that. The Don, the new manager for the Pirates, who we'll see how long that lasts. Like
Mr.
he
Kelly.
he is a very he's kind of the old school type of manager where he doesn't take crap like that, and I'm glad that he did bench him. Yeah, so O'Neal Cruz has probably been one of our better, probably the best offensive player for us this year. But regardless, I mean, again,
You know how sad that is? He's batting 205.
well, he's hit he's been hitting well power wise, but I really am tired of talking about this team. It's
Well, good. So here's my next question for you.
yeah,
Will Paul Skeens get 10 wins?
no.
He's 4 and
Well,
7.
Here's my question:
gonna
when
get
will
stuck at
Paul
9.
Skeens get traded? Next year or the
no.
year after?
Or when
They're
do you
not
think
trading
Paul
him.
Skeens will have Tommy John surgery?
That I'm declining to comment on those last two questions.
Advice
Yeah, I
from my
mean,
lawyers.
hey, Paul Skeens just came off his worst performance the other day. By the way, only gave up 4 runs. But that's probably the worst performance of his
matchup
career.
Everyone was waiting for.
Wow.
And he
I know.
bed in the
And still, his worst performance, they got no hit through like 6 innings. So like,
well, yeah, because it
He
was
saw-
Skeens Day. They knew not to perform.
He saw that LSU won the College World Series, spent all night partying, and then just shit the bed the next day.
Yeah.
It's all right.
You think the batters, the position players on the Pirates look at the lineup card every day, look at the rotation, they're like, "Ooh, Skeens Day. We don't gotta do shit." They're
I
just
think
like,
it's
"Thanks,
more
coach."
like all the other teams see Skeens and they're like, all right, we got to perform. We got to do good. We can do this. And the Pirates see the ace of the other team and go, shit.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, they're the epitome of when Paul Skeens is on the mound. I'm doing my part. I didn't do fucking shit.
Fucking
And that's
shit.
the whole lineup.
I
My
fully
favorite
believe
template.
that Skeens' issue is really that he's so good and his team is so bad that when they face the other team's ace, that's why he can't get a win.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Paul
that's
Skeens
not
needs to be your number 4 starter, so he can face number 4 starters.
the problem. I would agree with you, but that's not always the case. They don't always match up. I mean, Christ, we went up against Mick Abel and made Mick Abel look like Roger Clemens. So
Appreciate it.
Because you were facing Roger Clemens.
but
Essence
regardless,
stayed
we got
behind
to
after
get off
Cody
this. We got to get off this team because there's no point.
Before we move on,
come on.
Bobby, what is that lower third? The Cubbies, the Wubbies, and the Pissy Pirates.
Oh, did you see what
I
he
was
said for the
laughing
AL?
my
No,
ass off.
but did you see what he had for the AL Central back in that video?
I
I did
RXD.
see that. I did see that. I was like, what is this?
I thought about
Goodness
commenting,
gracious.
but I was like, I'm gonna see what the rest say before I say something.
I actually did not say it. I haven't.
I didn't
This
see
is
the other
first
two.
one
I
I've
got
seen.
distracted when we fell behind.
So this was not me usually trying to say on this topic.
Yeah, good. Because look, the NL Central outside of the Pirates is very interesting. The Cardinals, hey man, a lot of people, including myself, thought they were going to be shit,
I
and
thought
they're
they
hanging
finished
around.
less than the Pirates.
They're hanging around. They're 44-38. The Reds, I need you to go like on a 10. I need you to win 10 of your next 10 games for my money's sake. But man, like from the top of the from from 1 through 4, this is a really good division. Milwaukee continues to
When are we
be
going to
there.
not doubt them? Like seriously.
We're
It's
always gonna doubt them. That's our relationship.
well,
When they start proving it.
well
When
for
we
a
start,
while.
when we start saying they're going to be a good team, then
Yeah,
they're gonna
yeah.
fail us.
Right.
There
Next
you
year,
go.
let's all predict them to win the division, and then they will
We're gonna go
finally
on the
fall
Brewers.
off.
We're gonna push aside the Reds, and the Reds will jump, and the Brewers will fall.
Right.
That's just what'll happen, and we'll hate both teams for the rest of our lives.
Wait, what about the Cubs?
Well, let's talk about the Cubs. So, I wanted to ask Will this question because for a while we would talk about it because again we have a little bit of money on the Reds this year to win the
Do we?
division. We do, and
Money well
what
spent.
and I was
I didn't
saying
bet.
I was saying, wow, like I don't know about this, and Will always kept saying the Cubs are still nothing great, like blah 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 this and that. Do you still feel that way, or do you think the Cubs
Yes.
are really okay?
I
Offensively,
don't know what it
pitching.
is about the Cubs. I guess it's to the. I mean, do I think they're a good team? Yes. Do I think they're going to make the postseason regardless if something happens and they don't win a division? Yes, because they're in a good spot where even if they fell off and won like 40 games or something, they'd still probably get a wild card spot or something. But I mean, I still don't love the pitching is the thing too. It's the offense that's doing it, and the offense has had some times where it's definitely absolutely carried them. It's been fantastic. It's had some times where it's fallen back a little bit. The biggest thing, and I mean at this point, I have no reason to go against that. This is just who he is that Pete Crow Armstrong has just sprung out of nowhere as this 30, 40, 60, whatever type of player that he's going to be with sudden power and speed. But barring what we were saying earlier pertaining to like Christian Walker and the Astros and the idea of norms, they have a lot of people that are just going above and beyond right now. And I'm just wondering if at some point you're going to get the kind of fallback. Pitching wise, I think that is kind of who they are. I don't expect that to change that much. They'll get Imanaga back and that'll be great. But like Suzuki's got his power is a lot greater than I would have expected. He'll probably still hit fairly well power wise, but I don't expect it to be quite at the same pace it's at right now. Kyle Tucker started really hot. He slipped off power wise, but it still kind of kept the average up. So he's still having a good season. Carson Kelly, I don't care what his stats say. He is garbage now as a player. Like if you look at his stats for the last 2 months, he is like the backup to the backup catcher. With how he's been playing, like it's like 200, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs in like 60 games.
I'll trade for him.
Why not? You don't have a catcher right now.
That's why I'm saying that.
So it's like they've been hot enough, long enough that I can say, you know what, they're a playoff team. I'll give them that. There's just something about me. Maybe it's the fact that the last couple seasons too, they've always people have thought they were going to do well. They didn't for so long in the season, and then they turn it on late and it doesn't work out. That I'm not convinced that something's going to change in the second half, and suddenly you're going to get a 500 team for a lot of the second half, and a Brewers or a Reds team will suddenly make it a competition and potentially take it by a game or two.
I think the thing is too, you're talking about the starting rotation, like the pitching doesn't wow you. When they get Imanaga back, that'll be great. But like even I don't know, even with him, it feels like they don't have that star power in the pitching to compete with the other playoff teams. Like, okay, Imanaga is their number one. Justin Steele's already out for the year. So like your second guy who's had a really good year so far is Matthew Boyd, but like Matthew Boyd's not a household name, and
It's
by
very
playoff time,
uncharacteristic of him. Yeah.
yeah, by
What he's
playoff
doing.
time, is he gonna continue to pitch to the tune of a 2.65 ERA? So I think maybe that's why, but their offense is really explosive and yeah, man, PCA, I
And their
think I had
bullpen's been really, really good.
yeah, their
What the
bullpen
heck
has been
did Drew Pomerantz do during his downtime when he wasn't playing for like the last 2 seasons? He comes back after. All right, I gotta look at these stats line because this man, by the way, he is where's your age? 36 years old.
yeah.
Has not played since 2021. He has a 0 ERA in his
Yeah.
first 23 games, 20 and 2/3 innings pitched, and yet he has a loss.
Yeah,
He has an
it's
ERA of 0, and he has a loss because he
uh,
gave up an unearned run.
and like I mean that's been good for them because like I don't know, man. Like Ryan Presley has been okay, but he's just not the pitcher he once
No,
was in the
he's
back
old.
end. But I mean, Brazier's been good for them. Flexen's been pretty good for them. So they do have guys
Their
in that.
bullpen looks really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Again, for me, I'm more looking at that stud, like the star power they have on offense, and that's where I'm like, all right, like this is a team that can definitely turn it up. I just wonder, in the postseason, if they are playing a team like the Dodgers, who, have all these great starters, or even the Phillies, like if they somehow run into them and looking at that team and all of
Well,
their
that's the
great
season
starters.
series versus the Phillies.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's going to continue. And PCA, I remember talking about as kind of like he could be an impact piece for them this year, and he's done way more than I ever thought he could. So,
Mhm.
uh, we'll have to
Let's
see.
also keep in mind regarding the Cubs, when it comes to playoff time, your bullpen is so important to support your starters when they're having a bad day. So having a good bullpen like this could honestly be a huge advantage for the Cubs to get them far into the playoffs.
Yeah,
It's one of those things that could help for the first couple rounds, but would really be tested in like a 7-game series.
yeah. And also, I still think you're off the Cubs because you're just a Craig Counsell hater. Tell me
Let's
I'm wrong.
just say it's less that I'm a Craig Counsell hater and more that I feel like the Cubs did David Ross wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it completely backfired that first year.
That is
immensely. So
that is
I'm
fair.
like, maybe
Screw you.
it's a new curse.
Yeah. Oh God, they put that in Cubs fans' heads. And then yeah, the Brewers being in second place, they are 7-3 in their last 10. They've started to pick it up because even at the start of the year for them, it was a little bit shaky compared to earlier years, but now they're in it, and I don't know, John. Like, could you see them realistically slipping into a wild card spot?
Ooh, the Cubs or
The
the Brewers?
Brewers, the Brewers.
I don't know. It's hard to predict because, like we just talked about, there are two teams at least coming out of the NL West, I think, and the Phillies and Mets are going to be battling for the NL East crown. So one of them is going to be in the wild card. So unless they get some help outside of the division, I don't think they're necessarily going to finish good enough to get in. Honestly, I really don't. I think the Giants and Padres are going to be wild card teams, and I think that either the Phillies or the Mets are going to be wild card teams.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get one wild card team from each division.
Ooh,
I'm
Well,
not going to completely say that I think it's the Brewers because I still think it could be the Reds, or the Cardinals even.
that'd be wild.
All those teams, they're within.
where
like
do you
3
want?
games
Where
of-
do you think the Cubs are going to finish then?
Well, the Cubs are going to
probably
win the
going to win the
division.
division?
You win the
But-
division.
So
think they
here's
have a chance. I'm still not completely sold that they can run away with it the way it is, and that a team won't overtake them. But the Cubs, I still think, are the favorite. They're going to win the division most likely, given how things are going, even with a little bit of a drop off. But no,
Yeah.
it's just, I guess, right now the Brewers are. If the playoffs started today, the Brewers are in the playoffs. So right now, they've had enough hot streaks that yes, they've gotten back into it. things never pan out the way that we always thought, something crazy will happen, and watch, we're going to get one team from the West and two teams from the Central, and suddenly the American League and National League Centrals will be the best divisions in baseball because they'll be so represented.
I mean,
But
I was big on harping at the beginning of the season. I was like, hey, there's only going to be one team that comes out of the NL Central, so you have to win the division. And it's funny just because of how the division has played out this year. Like St. Louis being as good as they've been, all 1 through 4 having 42 plus wins. Like it definitely makes a case that hey man, maybe there another NL Central team will slip in through a wild card, which would be interesting to see. But I mean, I guess it's hard to go against the Brewers in this question I'm about to pose because of their pedigree. But I was gonna say between the Brewers, Cards, and Reds, like who do you feel most confident about in the second half of the season? Because to me, again, pedigree would say the Brewers and the Cardinals. Like I guess I'm so shocked that they're even in the position that they are now. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to continue. But
I'm not sold that the Cardinals are going to play like they're in it. Like I know there was talk early on, and now of course there's more of a question of what's going to happen with Ryan Helsley. But part of me feels like they seemed very hell bent when the season started, ownership wise, that we're going to let the young guys play and just whatever happens happens. And they're going to stick with that, with the idea of we're still looking to the future. And Helsley's a free agent where he's not performing quite at the level he has last couple seasons, but he still would be a very prized piece for many clubs that want a closer right now in the playoff hunt. I think they'll trade him and do enough where they could hang around, but they aren't going to really buy and go to that next level. They're still looking big picture. And so therefore they'll probably fall off. The Reds have gotten a little hot again now in June. They just need that. Their pitching has been pretty consistent and good. That's the Terry Francona special there. So they just need their offense to be consistent, which has always been the issue. Now, recently they just designated for assignment. I believe was it Candiero or whatever.
yeah, Candelario. Yeah.
Candelario. So there's at least they're taking a stand there. They're a team that I feel like actually could try and spend to bring someone in. Might be a little risky even if they do it as a rental option, but I feel like they're at least seem a bit more organization wise willing to try to a little more. They're trying to jump back into it right now and say, hey, we can still do this. But Brewers
to
are
me,
the team that I feel like is most likely.
To me, that seems really, really, that feels like a fool's errand to me regarding the Reds. I understand their pitching is doing really well. Their bats, on the other hand, are pretty average, I would say.
They're
So
currently about top. They're at the bottom end of the top third in baseball in offense, roughly.
yeah,
Slightly out of it, maybe. They're
I
they're
think
around that mark though.
I personally do not buy the Reds at all. So
Yeah, your money wasn't on them. We know that.
well, yeah. So if there is a team from the Central that's going to be in the wild card spot, I think it's going to be the Brewers. It's a team that knows how to win, especially down the stretch when you get into late August and September. And obviously, I think the Cubs are going to win the division. It's I have no faith in the Reds.
Ellie De La Cruz is at least somewhat changing as a player. He's not quite the free willy, whatever, swinging strikeout 230 times a season type of guy. These guys average up to 277 with 18 home runs, and he's played in every game. He has an 862 OPS, so therefore he's on pace right now to be a 30-40 guy with over 100 RBIs and over 120 runs scored. I mean, he is definitely, even though he probably doesn't stand out as a typical MVP candidate, and we like dissing on him because he's always mentioned as one of the best and then sucks and his defense is trash. But if the Reds were at all be truly in playoff competition or even make it, he could be a sneaky person for MVP consideration. He's not going to win because the baseball writers in the world love Shohei Ohtani too much, but he'll get consideration.
For this podcast said, okay, I say all the time that if it weren't for Judge, the Yankees would be terrible.
No, this podcast says that.
Okay, yeah. I didn't want to throw you guys under the bus with me, but thanks for joining.
That was my prediction. My prediction was if Judge gets hurt, the Yankees don't make the postseason. So
yeah, okay. So glad I'm not all alone under here. Anyway, the Reds also, in my opinion, really fit that mold. If Ellie gets hurt, they are an abysmal team with average players that really just they're not
Yeah.
impressive.
They really only have a couple guys that are. I mean, they have some solid numbers. Austin Hayes is great when he's not hurt and playing against left-handers. So it's very, very specific circumstances. But
Yeah, I guess
mean,
he
the
was
Reds
always a
are-
reverse splits guy.
Trevino's doing really well catching for them, and TJ Friedel's having a nice season. But yeah, I think the main thing is they don't really have the big, like clutch, flashy guys. Like when it
Yeah.
comes to like the key run producers, it's Ellie De La Cruz right now. They need someone else to really kind of get them over the edge right now. I mean,
He has
there's a
twice as
couple
many
areas
home
they could try
runs as the next closest
The next-
guy.
Right. No, they're not. They don't really have too many. I mean, they have, I believe, guys in their mind at full potential could be 20 plus home run guys. I think this season that most, given the way things are looking, you might have like 3, maybe. But they're but like I said, my hunch for them is just given the way ownership was behaving at the start of the offseason, bringing in Francona at least the early trade. They're showing desire that, and the fact that they fired Bell and the whole thing was because we think we could have done a lot better last year. We didn't, is that they're trying to get the team to the next level. And because they are teetering on that outside wildcard spot, I feel like they will try and do something at the deadline to help that offense.
I
Whether
think
should
they
or
will
shouldn't, I feel
too.
like they try.
I agree with you. I think they should too, but I don't think they should.
Okay. I was confused for a second.
We wrapped it up. Moving on, host.
No, well, I quickly, I would do want to go back to the Cardinals for 1 second because
And I thought I'd stay on
I
topics.
wanted to go back to what Will said about, kind of the philosophy of the Cardinals going into the season, which begs the question, like, how much do you think they need to be, like, not out of it? What am I trying to say? Like, how down do they have to be in the next month for them to consider moving guys? Like you said, Helsley, right? But
They could
like
be the exact same record. I think they would still do that.
Right. Okay. So like my thing is like, would they still try to push Arenado out? Would they try to get some of these older guys still out for like the trade value that they have because they want all these young guys to play? Or do you think like now they're in a spot where they kind of want to stick somewhat because you have had
truth be told,
success?
looking at the young guys, or not young guys, look at the older guys or people at the end of contracts that could be like gone after the season or gone a year or something. Who's performing well enough that truly you would keep?
To keep
Like,
for
honest,
them?
like keep right now this year because you're like based on how they're performing, they can get me to the postseason. Honestly, with how well the team's performing, I mean, Helsley's a 3.5 ERA guy, so that's nowhere close to the guy that you expected. Arenado's still being old man Arenado. Like he's 240s. He might hit 20 home runs this season, but he's slipping. So I mean,
So I would have said
what's working,
Contreras,
yeah.
but if I say Contreras, I feel like I have to say Arenado because they have very similar numbers. So
Right, but so
and
my
I would
point
say
is
Arenado
that,
would get shipped out.
right. But my point is that of the guys that you would consider trading, at least stats wise, right now with how well the team's performing, none of them are big pieces that would seem to really shift on
Yeah.
the way things have been happening. Like you get rid of Helsley based on track record, sure. Based on how he's doing this season, less so. Either you have a cheaper guy you bring in as part of that same trade to kind of help offset the deal a little bit, or you call up a young guy or two, to give him chances. But like I said, the Cardinals I feel like need to be within like a game or two of the division at the trade deadline to change their mind. And even then, I'm not sold that they would do it unless that's because like Helsley goes on a stretch and has an ERA of 0 for the next month. Like drastic things need to happen, I feel like, to change what their big plan is.
Yeah, and I don't know what the contracts look like for their pitchers, but even like a Sonny Gray, if they wanted to move on to again just to get some value for these older guys, I think ultimately it's Arenado's the guy that I look at and I'm like, okay, if you You can definitely you can definitely get more value than he's probably worth out of a trade because of the name, and that's why I would consider moving him. Because like you said, you can even bring in maybe somebody from that deal to basically take over his spot that's younger and cheaper, and that allows everybody else to still play. But I don't know if you're going to get that same pull from the other guys. So I was just curious. But I mean, hey, I've been really impressed with the Cardinals this year. I thought that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and their young guys have stepped up. So it's good for them because they're set up for their future, it looks like, again, potentially, and that's great. The division is going to get better as the Pirates get worse. But regardless, let's move over to the NL East and talk about what's kind of been happening here. I mean,
All right, Bobby, ready to hijack the episode? Make it a
Yeah.
2-hour episode.
I don't know when this episode's coming out, but we are recording on June 26th, and as of recent, the Mets and the Phillies have sort of been slumping just a little bit. Mets and Phillies,
All
of
right,
course,
fine.
still
I'm
have
not
to.
going to defend the Phillies. I was going to slightly mischaracterize, but okay.
I mean, okay, you're right.
The
They just got
Phillies were hot. The Mets weren't. That's why they're even. But then the Phillies just got swept by the Astros.
right.
So that's why suddenly it's looked.
They win that
different.
series against the Mets though.
They won
did.
the series versus the Mets, and at the end of that series, the Mets
And
were
then
like
didn't
1
score
for
a
the
run
last
since.
9. The Phillies were like 8 for the last 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, looking at their last 10, they're 5-5, and they lost their last 3. So
Yeah, that's why
maybe
it's
I got
offset things now.
maybe I just got recency bias, and maybe it's because I watched the series and said, "Holy shit,
Oh,
they
I didn't
literally
even
can't
want
get
to
a
watch.
hit."
I didn't even watch it. I like
One
watched like 3 innings, and I'm like, this is gonna be the same exact thing.
one run,
One
in
run
3
in
games.
27 innings.
Yeah,
And
that's tough.
it's not, and they gave up like 5 runs the
Yeah,
entire series.
and New York has not been any better. I mean, they're 2-8 in their last 10, and they really, really have been on the decline. Um, they're currently playing, so we'll see what happens because they can overtake the division again. But yeah, man, it's been weird. And then once again, it's kind of everybody else. This division, I thought Atlanta was going to be closer. Obviously Miami and the Nationals, it's not out of this world to see them that far out of it. I thought it was going to be closer with Atlanta, but it really is a two-horse race right now. And I don't know. I mean, again, Phillies fans, I'll let you sound off here because you you know better than I do. I just keep
I guess
coming to
what
this.
questions do you want answers to?
Well,
'Cause we could talk all the time, but what do you
yeah,
want to know?
I mean, we recently did an episode where we talked about the Phillies, and my biggest thing is still I see a lot of the same problems that they had in the past, and I just don't see that changing in the postseason. And I just wonder when they're going to pull the trigger of doing something drastic. Like, I was literally talking to Bobby today about, I'm like, at what point do they just bring up Crawford just to try something? Because
Not this year.
this team just needs something. It feels like they're 47 and 34. They're going to make the playoffs, but like. I just feel like they're gonna get to the playoffs and the same shit is gonna happen. Like that, I'm worried about them.
I mean, I will say this. I would rather them almost have the wild card spot so they don't have the time off. I know you don't believe in that sort of thing, and you really shouldn't. But creature habit type of thing, I'm still going to stand by. I like this team better when they continue playing versus when they have the
Especially since
time.
they were
And the
they were
bullpen
running
especially had the time off.
scrimmages when they did have that time off, but it still didn't just
Well,
carry over at all.
No one is truly going to run the scrimmages correctly. I feel like, and even
No,
if
of course
that
not.
worked okay, my whole thing is still just there's a very specific way I feel like you need to treat a bullpen during off time because that's when they get rusty. And that is truthfully, regardless of the little the offense did last postseason, the bullpen's what killed it in the end because there have been plenty of times during last year's regular season the Phillies won 1-run games late just because the bullpen was lights out, but no one was lights out. When you have 5 days off, there's a specific way that they'll need to manage it so that they're still throwing and not taking too much time off, because if they take too much time off and try to ramp it up in a non-competitive setting, they're not going to be fully up to where they should be, and that showed last year. But the bullpen is going to be the thing this year that is the biggest question out of all of it. I understand what you're saying, and I do believe, especially out of this recent stretch, the Phillies do have various things they need to work out so that they can still punch 2-3 runs against good pitching staffs. They still don't have Harper. He's going to be back. Looks like
Yeah.
potentially, if not next series, the series after. So he's right around the corner, and hopefully the wrist situation is not a consistent thing. This is just, he finally just put the brakes on and said, all right, we're treating this. Let's just get it right and then get back at it. And so you'll have some of the young guys that were playing more, like Buddy Kennedy and even Otto Kemp, who hasn't done too bad, will come out. But I think that the Phillies are experienced enough where they understand what they're getting into in the postseason. It's just that I am still uneven with the bullpen as a whole. There's really one person I truly trust right now in the back end sense. There's one or two that I still think can be effective back there, but they need to, if there's going to be anything big that Dombrowski does this trade deadline, it's going to be is how he adds to the bullpen, because that's what they really need. Anything super crazy Dombrowski-esque at the earliest, I don't think happens till the off season.
Yeah, I don't know,
That's
man.
kind of the par for course for Dombrowski. Was I was referencing the Good Fight article. That's basically what they said. They were trying to dispel this kind of weird aura that kind of surrounds Dombrowski, where they think he's ultra aggressive. Not really. He's not aggressive during the season at all. He seems to be a believer in just kind of letting the season fly. And I mean, again, at the end of the day, they're tied for the top of the NL East right now. So you don't want to do too much damage to a core of a team, quote unquote, at this point, which is why, Tyler, in regards to your point about Crawford, like, I'm sure the thought is crossing their mind. I just don't think they want to pull the trigger on it. The reasons I gave Tyler earlier were because Marsh finally started to pick it up, because for a while there it looked like if Crawford was going to come in, Marsh was going to be the replacement, because he was batting like what 160 at some point in the beginning of the season.
Before
Like he was
before
not.
he got hurt. He was
Yeah,
not doing well
so
the first month.
when he got back though, and then recently he's been batting quite well. He hit a walk off at during the what series was that? I'm forgetting. It was the Cubs against the Cubs, and he's been getting on base more. He seems to be a reliable number 9 hitter right now. He's been getting on base for the top of the lineup, things like that. So the next look then is definitely not Nick Castellanos, so it's going to be Kepler. And Kepler, although he's been doing quite poorly, also has a lot of money sunk into him and is not as easy of a move. So at that point, it's just probably not worth trying to make some weird kind of magic happen with either DFA or whatever, or someone else going down and bringing him up that they're going to want to do. So, and again, and the other thing I mentioned too is at the end of the day, Crawford's still a prospect, right? You don't want to throw him into a situation on a mental perspective and be like, hey, you're a big prospect. You're going to come in and you're going to get us there now. Like it's time to go. He's been great, and it seems like he's been developing very well, but there's going to be a mental game when he gets up to the majors, just like it is with everybody, and especially on a team that's really trying to make this push. There's going to be a lot of pressure, and you probably don't want that. It's probably much better wait till the end of the season, bring him up at the beginning of the season, let him go, and then at that point he has so much more to build off of, and there's not as much of an expectation.
Yeah, I guess the other question would be like if they were looking at a trade or an addition of some sort, like how that could play. I don't think they're going to, like I said, I just have this question of like, all right, you get to the postseason, are you really happy with your outfield looking the way it is? And maybe you are. When Harper's back fully healthy, it takes pressure off those guys, whatever. But is that outfield going to be able to stack up against? I'm not saying the outfield, but like that outfield being in the lineup, is that going to be able to stack up against other teams, or is it going to hinder you in ways? I just have questions about that, and I was even thinking like
They're fair questions.
I mean, it's a fair question, and they've done it already this season. I mean,
Yeah.
the main thing you're trying to build with a baseball team is consistency, because every team can go through it. What?
And this outfield just doesn't have it. Because when they're on, look at Marsh right now. When he's on, he's one of the best depth guys you can have in the outfield.
He's like a
leadoff
really hitter almost, the way he
seriously. Like it's whatever he fucking dies. It just
right. I mean, the Phillies have had stretches this season, and even had the stretch where in May or something, or towards the beginning of June, they actually had the best record in baseball for like a week, and then they started to peter off a bit, and then they got back into it after a rough 10-game stretch, and they're even still now with their tie with the Mets, they're still within like 5 games, less than that, like 4 or 5 games of the best record in baseball. So they still are like there. They're at the edge. The question is just, what does it take to get there, and I guess is, what do you need to do to be more consistent and don't have series like this where you have you get shut out basically the entire series except for a run in the 8th today. Now you can use the veteran argument and the fact that they have a lot of postseason experienced players, especially postseason experience with this club. You have Harper coming
Which
back, and you'll
does
have
matter.
Harper, Bohm, Schwarber, Castellanos, Turner. Like you can't tell me you can't trust those 5 guys like anytime, really.
Well,
The way they're hitting, they're doing great.
yes, in every natural instinct, you're right. On what we saw last year, that's where things get a little bit more annoying to talk about, right? Especially with guys like Trey.
No, and there would seem to be guys. Well, and it was a team thing last year, really, except for Harper.
I agree, but Trey was kind of like
Castellanos.
the big guy getting the tomatoes getting hit, right in the face, kind of thing.
But
like he was kind of
a lot of things are different right now this year. But anyway,
yes, yes,
I still feel like if you're wanting, the consistency sense is going to be in long haul for the Phillies is locking down games late, and they just need bullpen stuff. And I think they're probably staying in general this offense till 2027, because what we said about Crawford, I don't think he'll be up this season unless Kepler or Marsh or someone gets hurt. He'll probably start as the everyday center fielder in 2026. Marsh will start as the everyday left fielder that year. And then after that season, you have some combination of like Castellanos' contract ending and like maybe Marsh and Bohm being done with arbitration. So if there's going to be a big shift, you're not getting it for a couple years. Pitching wise is where the Phillies are going to haul everything towards for the next.
Going to be a reliever. It's going to be a reliever again. It's got to be a reliever again, because
I've already seen things compared to the David Robertson trade of 2022 happening again.
Yeah, it just
even
was
from Dombrowski's
like,
mouth, he said he might do something like that.
The starting pitching isn't even mostly the issue. I mean, Aaron Nola, as hurt as he is right now, and how rough he kind of started things out, it's just like, again, we've relied on him for so long. Like, it's kind of hard to imagine the starting rotation kind of being without him. And he, at the moment when he comes back, is probably going to be the number 5. So it's gonna be a little weird seeing how that's going to play out. And I don't think I don't think they're tight on trying to make any type of weird play. They just need to keep Taiwan Walker off the mound, because he continues to just disprove, or rather prove everything that everyone says about him. Because you know what? I'll give him credit on the one thing. He seems to have accepted all the demotions, if that's what we want to call it. It's demotion to us. He's not calling it that. The demotion, the being put in the bullpen as gracefully as you possibly can. Okay, for as much money as he's getting paid, I'll give him all the credit in the world for that. But holy fuck, man, is it that hard for you to step on the mound and not completely blow an inning? I don't understand. It's kind of incredible to watch, man. He's consistently bad. He had one good start, like coming in from spring training, and died after that.
I don't know, question now.
John just
so out of it.
John has not been listening. He fucking.
By the way, I've
actually been looking at both rosters here between the Phillies and the Mets, and I don't think you could have a more even like matchup than these two teams fighting over this division.
I mean, the way it is right now is the Phillies offense is a little better than the Mets as a whole. But the Mets pitching has been the best in the NL all season.
Soto was just a little bit more worth the contract they gave him. This is a much different conversation.
Soto has making up for it in June. He's been the first 2 months. Lindor started out hot. He's kind of the opposite. He kind of teetered off, but he's doing a little better. The Mets just were very top heavy with their lineup, and after you got through the top 3 of Soto, Lindor, and Alonso, everything kind of fell off the map, and that hasn't consistently kind of been a thing throughout the season. So the pitching has been the only thing that's really worked.
The power numbers do show that that in terms of who hits home runs on this team for the Mets, it is Alonso, Lindor, Nemo, and Soto. If you can if you can pitch around those guys, you can beat the Mets
I mean, what
easily.
the Mets
True.
have 107 home runs as a team, and like 51 of them or 52 are from those three guys.
4 guys, yeah. It's
Which was
Oh,
which I mean was
who was the
expected.
fourth
Even
person you
Nemo was
said?
expected.
Nemo,
How many does he have?
15.
Okay, then 66 out of those four guys. It's like 2/3 of your team's home runs. So,
Yeah, it's ridiculous in honesty. And Starling Marte not holding up to his position of being a designated hitter. It's almost like you have a guy that should
he's
fit
benched.
there
They're
better.
they're rotating that stuff around because Winker plays it sometimes, whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phillies, I will say in general, while with the Harper situation being hurt too, they are overall in baseball ranking wise are lower than usual. Like in runs scored, they're just out of the top third. So,
But I think that's pretty expected when you take a bat like Bryce Harper's
well, and
when he's
that was
healthy
my
out
point.
of the
So,
lineup.
Yeah.
So I mean, I expect, I need better second half than what we had last year, where we were basically a 500 team.
Please.
But continuing our trend of looking at what the norms are for people, feel fairly consistent that that honestly like Turner and Castellanos, Bohm, and even Schwarber can all kind of stay even keel with what they are. And then you bring Harper back into the mix, and JT Realmuto, at least average wise, has been increasing, thankfully, recently. I do
Still so
think the
good behind the
Phillies
plate.
offense is going to get back to it, at least in the second half, being within the top three in the National League. It's just if Dombrowski will make the good bullpen moves to then make the team top two in baseball in the second half. And if that's the case, then I think they're dangerous in the postseason. If they kind of ride this 500 wave like they did last year, they could be an early exit again.
I want to make a small point real quick because I saw this right before we actually started recording this episode. So my understanding, based on just this one tweet, I actually didn't totally verify this, but the timeline does add up. The timeline does line up where we're officially, time speaking, halfway through Bryce's contract now. So, the immediate argument was somebody who obviously doesn't know what baseball is and had a whole on thing saying that it was a failed contract, forgetting what team he signed on when he originally got here versus what it is now. And also in a sport like baseball where it is you need everybody to perform. We saw that the past 2 years with the Phillies.
Well, I've been actually kind of thinking about that recently too, about all right, if Harper gets done his entire contract and the Phillies don't win a World Series, just thinking about all the things that are going to come out saying that it was a failed contract, that
It wasn't because of him.
it was, but the thing that I was basically trying to think over was, I don't care if they win. I mean, I want them to win a World Series, but in the end, I don't care if they win a World Series in the end. I'm getting this 13-year superstar, and it's going to, the goal is to basically make me enjoy baseball and develop memories and fall in love with the Phillies again. And absolutely during his contract and this postseason run, there have been some of the best moments and some of the craziest runs that we've been on. Like, you can't tell me that the entire 2022 postseason was expected, and then all those different highlight moments are constantly running through your head as a Phillies fan, or even in 2023 with the Bryce Harper Grand Slam and the Phillies beating up the Braves again, especially that attaboy Harper stuff. Like, you can look on all the bad stuff.
You're welcome for that
look
shirt.
at them not winning the World Series or choking versus the Diamondbacks, or like I said in this hypothetical, not winning a World Series at all during the contract. But he's making some of the best memories for Phillies fans, is making it one heck of a time to be a fun Phillies fan. And it's good, regardless of what happens truly in the long haul, the contract's worth it just because of what's already happened memories wise.
I'm being a hypocrite here, though, because I will say one of my biggest things about the Ohtani contract was how many World Series do you need to win for it to make it worth it? I've been saying that the whole time. To be fair, though, in my defense, it's $330 million versus basically $1 billion. So honestly, go fuck yourself if that's the
So it's
argument you'll
making
make
more.
against me, because that was also 330 million in 2018, right? So versus a billion in 2025 dollars, which holy fucking shit, man.
Time flies.
But yeah,
Yeah,
we should probably get off the Phillies here because we've ran up. We got a couple.
yeah, we're
other things we
already
gotta
on
cover here.
Shohei. What are you talking about? We're
Yeah,
off
Well,
the
it was-
Phillies.
you know, while you guys have been talking about that, I have been scheming some things up.
Oh, no.
Because I was
All
look,
right.
I listen. I as much as I would hate this, I was looking at like, you know what? If the Phillies didn't want to call up Crawford and they did make a move, what teams could they get something for? And I'm looking through. I see the Pittsburgh Pirates, and as much as I would hate this,
Are you doing the like
as
crazy
much
ass
as I
trade
would
to get
hate
Paul
this,
the
Skeens?
Skeens trade.
no,
I've heard hypotheticals with those.
the Phillies need outfield help. They trade for a 30-year-old
You're not
Brian
bringing this
Ren-
back up again.
You're-
You're not
no,
bringing
no,
this
listen.
back up again.
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. He's getting paid 13 a year until 2030, so maybe that deters it. But you get a guy who's in a down year, but he's been historically really good. We'll take like Aiden Miller off your hands. Who says no? Who says no? I'm just saying.
You see, I thought you were about to bring up the Castellanos trade that you were pitching last year.
Oh no,
where
I'm talking about realistically. Like I think the Pirates.
That was
I mean,
realistic.
Miller
for a
is
time.
the one that is realistically, I feel like, out of anyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm
He's-
saying.
I've heard many people, I've heard Dombrowski even say no, but I like, all right, right now, if you're going to look at the top three guys aside from Painter, because they aren't going to touch Painter.
I took out
They
Painter and
basically give
Crawford.
us Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge for us to say yes.
Yeah.
But and that's not going to happen. So anyway, that leaves Mick Abel, Justin Crawford, and Aiden Miller. I still think Crawford's a no, and he's going to be starting in the outfield somewhere to start 2026.
Pirates don't need
because
pitching.
of what Abel is not off the
Need a
table,
lot more
but
than
I feel
pitching,
like
buddy.
given what Abel has done in his little stint so far in the majors, when Nola comes back, he's probably going to be sent down because he has to.
Yeah.
I feel like he's almost kind of guaranteed that they are now back to viewing him as truly part of the future and not just a liability who can't throw a strike.
Him
And
getting
Miller
service
is-
time is going to be Dombrowski's reason for not really getting rid of him
And
now.
Miller is blocked like crazy position wise between
Yeah.
Harper at first, Bohm at third. Even though Bohm has technically got 1 year left before a free agent based on arbitration, wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies actually try to extend him in the year. I
don't
do
know if
think
they will.
they've come to like him enough, and given how clutch he is and being a right-hander to go parallel with the left-handed power in the lineup, that they like him a lot. And Trey Turner's there for life. So
I don't know, man. Like I
Miller
guess
doesn't have a spot, so
Yeah.
he is therefore up for the taking. It's just who is big enough to you would dump him on.
I don't think this is like totally unrealistic, but I was really thinking, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like Brian, like that would make sense, dude. He's a switch hitter. He plays the outfield. I mean, he doesn't play it that well, but he's a career 273 hitter. Could be somebody, and we'll take a young
mean,
guy. Restart
Would
the rebuild
Cardinals
again.
Consider that for a Helsley trade.
Would the Cardinals consider it?
They
Maybe.
trade Aiden Miller for Helsley.
I mean,
The one thing
probably.
the one thing it would
Then
do
that's
is
your
that
Arenado replacement.
right, but the other thing was that Jordan Walker originally is a third baseman. He was
Yeah.
kind of transitioned to be an outfielder, but he's also been ass since playing. So it's not like he's really gained their confidence. And Helsley is someone that I've definitely seen tossed around as a trade piece. Depending on what the Yankees feel about Devin Williams now,
Yeah.
Williams is better, so it's probably not. But the Yankees have always been desperate for, it feels like, a steady third baseman. Miller doesn't have to be it this year, but he could be in a year or two.
I don't know. It's interesting. Like that. I agree that Miller's the one guy.
We
that
trade
they
him
would-
to the Mariners
that
and
they
get
would-
Munoz because the Mariners have no one.
That's the one guy I would say maybe is expendable. Anyway, let's we'll hit the Braves. I don't really have too much to say about the Nationals and
They're
Marlins.
old and they're dying.
Yeah,
And Chris Sale broke a rib, so look who got hurt again.
I was a year early on a great prediction.
Dude, he was hurt last year when it mattered. It wasn't wrong. It just
Yeah.
took not like 6 months.
But Braves were dead to you, like in terms
Yeah.
of like.
There was one team this season I thought from the NLEs would not make the postseason from the three of them, just because it seemed like one of those typical predictions where, oh, it has to be all three of these guys, and just something doesn't go their way. I just had the team wrong. I thought it would be the Mets because I didn't trust the pitching. It turns out to be the Braves because they carried over their offensive woes from last year, which still seems crazy, especially after Acuna's back and is
I
hitting
know.
the cover off the ball. And
I
the Braves, I don't know what it is, but I feel like this Braves team finally, as everyone's caught up with them velocity wise, and they can't catch up to it. And now I know they're not old, but they've been together for a while, and very quickly, suddenly, these 20-year-olds are going to turn into low 30s, and
Yeah, did
things are
they?
changing.
I mean, here's the thing, right? So like, they're let's see, wild
And you have
card.
Profar, who
Yeah. So
not
that
tainted at all.
they're 6.5 out of a wild card already, and as we kind of mentioned, I think like the Giants are going to get better. I'd imagine the Padres kind of stay on the same trajectory. The Phillies and Mets. So like, I don't know if they are really going to be able to get close to the postseason. And then it's like, well, what do you do going forward? Because you obviously have Acuna, who's a superstar player, but then do they start to have some lineup turnover where they are shipping guys out? I don't know what the contract situation is for guys like Riley and
So
Albies and
the
stuff, but
first, well, Albies is the first one that could be. I think he's got like 2 or 3 club options starting next year. He is someone too that you could argue is out of that entire bunch the worst.
mm,
And he's had occasional times of injury issues. So if you really want to try to shake things up, that's the first spot you would do it. Um, Otherwise, I mean, we know they have the talent, and health has just sometimes been the issue. At least it was this, like it's been with Acuna and Albies and Murphy recently. They could just decide to roll back the team pretty healthy, like healthy to start next year, hopefully, and maybe they try to get a shortstop because that's been something that's
I don't
been
know, but that's what I'm saying.
struggling with
Like,
them.
are they even gonna? I don't know what the contract situation is, and that's probably the biggest thing here. But I don't even know if they got to start getting antsy with this and starting to want to do stuff because it like Michael Harris hasn't like really panned out to the expectation they had for him. Albies has been down. Um, Olson's Olson's an older guy
Olson's
obviously as
been
well,
more
but
like what Olson was before the trade than what he
yeah.
was the first couple
And
of
I
years.
mean, Austin Riley is like starting to get,
Solid.
yeah, he's solid, but he's starting. I mean, he's only 28 still, but he's starting to creep up there just a little bit. So I don't know, man. Like, I just obviously Acuna is going to be
They also have
there.
had a risky pitching with who they
Yeah,
brought in. I mean, Spencer Strider's situation has just been interesting because he hasn't really been the same since coming back from this. It wasn't Tommy John, but it was the like the
the
stint.
brace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
brace.
yeah,
And technically the second time he blew out his UCL or ACL or whatever.
yeah,
And and then the rest of that has been kind of injury risk players with Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez because he was transitioned from, even though he started out as a starter, he had been a reliever so long and was transitioned back into a starter. Um, the young guys have basically been the ones stepping up, and honestly, before AJ Smith-Shaw ever had that Tommy John or was blew his
yeah.
shoulder or whatever it was, he was looking promising, but Schwellenbach's done well, so I think they're back in that line of they kind of were finally depleting the young pitching core in the minors, and they started to see that wall when Noah was coming up and he didn't work out, um or Elder's just been So I
Yeah.
feel like Schwellenbach's been kind of the last real and AJ Smith Shaw were the last of the real minor league guys that they could deal with. And they got to work on buying guys. That used to be something that they were good at. They would always jump on someone they liked early in the offseason and way overpay them for a 1-year deal. But now they need to do that arguably for 2 starting rotation spots plus a bullpen, especially closing. And
Yeah,
who
it's
knows?
almost when do you kind of blow this up? Like the team has been good for so long, but this is now back-to-back years where it hasn't gone so well and
It
injuries
depends on the
playing a role. But
Nationals. The
yeah,
Nationals can make the jump pitching wise after this year, then maybe they should consider it because at least by the numbers, the Nationals in some areas and many areas are actually better than the Braves. It's just that the Nationals pitching, especially their bullpen, is horrible and
yeah,
it's destroying the record. That's
yeah.
it.
I mean, I guess like quickly we'll touch on them because like my only
Oh,
thing,
that was it. Moving on.
my only thing I was gonna say about them is they have found a certified stud in James Wood. The guy
Woods are
is
the
Who they
2.0.
won't be able to keep.
well, probably not, but
They'll
yeah.
try to, but Woods will say no.
I mean, he's already got 22 home runs this year. He's absolutely killing it, but I I see all these highlights of him absolutely just destroying baseballs, and then the next thing I'll say is Nationals are on a 10-game losing streak. I'm like, how, dude? He just hit 2 home runs tonight. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's all they got was 2 home runs.
yeah, like it's just man, like I thought this team was gonna take the jump this year, and I guess it's good that they're getting production out of him. Abrams has still been good. Um, where they feel like they probably have something in him now. Like you are seeing the younger guys, some of them at least step up to you can say okay, we have something in him, but it's still like God, man. I really thought they're going to take the jump this year, and they're worse than the Marlins. Like it's terrible, dude. Like
I still can't believe the Marlins are doing as well as they are, even though it's
Yeah.
not good. It's just
That
like they should
AAA
be
team,
so much
Miami,
worse.
is
That's how you
dreaming.
run a AAA team. Pittsburgh, take notes. Like if you're gonna not pay players, Jesus Christ, at least whatever. Regardless, I think we droned on way too much about that.
We didn't really talk about the Mets outside of like brief mention how they match up against the Phillies.
The Mets.
We talked about the Mets and passing. I will say one thing on this real quick is that they it looks like Griffin Canning popped his Achilles tonight and he's going to be out, and they've already had so
Well, he
many.
was coming back down to earth anyway.
They've had so many pitching injuries that I think with that alone, I think the Phillies will probably pull away with this division. And they'll end up winning it in the end, but
is Montes back yet, or is he back in like a week? I thought I saw his name.
Manaea is coming back soon.
I saw Montes' name popping up.
But then they just lost, of course, Senga. McGill is now out for a while, so I don't know, but
I trust the Phillies' consistency. If their bullpen can hold up, I
Well,
think they match up better.
Well, what move will they make? That's the thing. What move will they make?
I mean,
I think you need to get an outfielder and you need a bullpen.
I don't
piece.
think they're gonna go outfield.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
It's like what they did last year with an Austin Hayes type of thing, and I think they like Otto Kemp too much that they're gonna let him play left field versus lefties and sit Kepler then.
Another point I bring up about the Mets, they Richard Lovelady changed his name to Dickie Lovelady, and then they DF Adel. What the hell, man?
No fun. No fun.
Awful. But that is all for our midseason recap of the NL.
God.
I'll tell you what, that Phillies talk, I wasn't even talking, and I'm like tired from it. I'm exhausted.
I said my fucking piece.
If you want to follow,
we'll do an episode without you guys if you want.
Yeah, I might have to
make
happen.
a 30-minute episode just on the Phillies.
You love the Phillies.
And
30 minutes. Why are we getting lowball?
That includes the 10 that you took out of the AL East segment.
That is all for us here on Big League Breakdowns. You can follow us on Twitter at BL_Breakdowns, Big League Breakdowns everywhere else. If you like the video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel for more, and we will see you next time.
Wear your seatbelt. We're halfway there.
Looking back now.